Welcome back to the channel, guys, and another entry in sharing your stories, which if you just stumbled upon this entry, I am reading aloud stories that have been sent in from members of the VanlifePLUS community, people that want to share their nomadic experiences or their nomadic dreams or anything else that might just be going on in their life, and the fact that they've become part of this community, even if they're not living in a van. They just say, stop saying they, just say you. This has been very well received, and I am very much enjoying being able to share everyone's experiences with the rest of the community. So at the end, I will throw up the email address where you yourself could send in your story if you want me to read it here on the channel. So without any further ado, we're just going to get right back into it. The first story comes from Daniel. Daniel has the subject line of Future Nomad. Exactly what I'm talking about. Daniel says, "What is up? Future Nomad here and a huge fan of your channel. I wanted to first say thank you for doing what you do and for simply being you. I have been watching you from the beginning and think you're such a vibe with your humor and overall kindness. So let's see where to begin. My name is Danny and my story isn't the happiest, but definitely fighting daily to get to that happy place. I'm a 41-year-old married man, been married for 8 years to my soulmate, Michael, who is my everything. Definitely don't know where I would be without him, as he is my rock, my best friend, and the love of my life. When the pandemic happened, I was one of those who took a loss on the job market and have been doing odd jobs here and there ever since. Finding a job here in Miami seems so difficult, especially being an older, semi-disabled gay man. A bad car accident years ago left my right leg, well, let's just say, really messed up. As I broke my leg and my knee in 2 places, shattered my pelvis and dislocated my hip, and the doctors, as they told me, did the best they could to fix me up. And to be honest, it's hard to find a job, as most require a lot of standing, which my leg doesn't like to do too much, I think is how that was written. Sorry, Danny. I have been dealing with depression and over the years, ever since my life changed due to that accident, and a pandemic and seclusion didn't help. Thankfully, my husband never lost his job and has been promoted several times over the years, which has financially secured us, kind of. I do what I can to bring in some income by editing for creatives such as yourself, even those in the adult industry. But the pandemic even messed with that also, as creators learned how to do things on their own. But I am thankful for those clients who I get to work with weekly. With the economy being the way it is and our rent continuously going up every year, it's becoming harder and harder to live on just one salary. And as rent and food get pricier, and with both of our cars, we are basically living check to check with no room to enjoy life, which doesn't help with my feelings of depression and anxiety, as I see the stress of my husband, even though he tries really hard. It shows and it kills me. The work he's constantly doing and never being able to enjoy life and just works to live. We both noticed when we are out and about, my depression and anxiety disappear, being outdoors, and would probably be non-existent if we were more in nature and not stuck inside. So recently, my husband and I have been talking about buying a home on wheels and basically saving ourselves monthly the thousands we spend every month on rent, and could sell one of the cars as well. This idea was brought to light because of your videos and other van lifers like Chrome from Van City Van Life. So we've been searching for vehicles that would be a good fit for us, as my husband would be staying at his job and I would do my own thing while he works. And we would get to do some light traveling a bit on the weekends and finally get to do some big traveling on his vacations, instead of being forced to stay home because of not being able to afford anything, let alone go somewhere on his vacation. We think life shouldn't be just about working, but living and exploring and enjoying life and Mother Nature. So we are taking the plunge and hunting for our future home on wheels, and can't wait to start living the van life. So again, thank you for brightening up our days, and hopefully our paths will cross one day, sending you and the kiddies positive vibes, love, and light. Including a pic of my husband and I, which you can show as well. I don't mind. I'm the one wearing the hat. Thank you very much for writing in, Danny, and sharing. I think that's the story that so many people can relate to. Losing your job, feeling trapped and, sheltered, put upon. I say trapped, utterly trapped. What you're feeling is not, it's it's not surprising, right? I definitely had very similar feelings as most of us did during that shit time. And people are still feeling the effects of all of that bullshit today. I'm glad that you guys are able to find inspiration from channels like mine and Chrome's and realize that life really is worth more than the numbers on the bloody paper. When you speak about, you know, working paycheck to paycheck, dude, that was my whole life. That was my whole adult life. I didn't say whole life. But it's so true. And I mean, I'm not blaming anybody. That was on me. You know, I put myself in that situation with my education or lack thereof and whatnot, and put myself in a hole. And then you just, you end up working paycheck to paycheck. And what is the bloody point of doing that? And nomadic life really does. People ask all the time, well, do you actually save money? And I know that there's videos out there saying, oh, you don't save any money living in a van. Well, no, not if you live in an $80,000 Sprinter with all of the amenities of a regular house, and you're eating out every day and, you know, spending a whole bunch on amenities or whatever. No. But if you're willing to make sacrifices to the way you used to live your life in a sticks and bricks, and understand that you have to be okay with not having a shower every day, shitting in a bucket, potentially eating hunched over and whatnot, and being cold on certain nights, having rain keep you awake when it's raining, or maybe you just like that and that's a bonus. It's just, I see videos like that people say, oh, it's just as, if not more expensive. Yeah, if you go into it with the wrong expectations, but I don't think that you two are. I hope you guys can get on that track. And I hope our paths cross. Man, I want to get down to Miami someday. Thank you again for writing in, my man. Now, sorry about the wind. Hopefully they'll be able to fix it. Hey, there goes the fisherman. Oh, speaking of cold. My goodness. Okay, here's a short one. I haven't read this yet. This comes from David. He says, hey, I've just seen your van life stories video and thought it'd be good to share mine. Perfect. Essentially, just over a year ago, I found out that my soon-to-be ex-wife was having an affair. This gave way to the breakdown of my marriage and led to me really struggling with my mental health, which I'm still not on an even keel with. In April of this year, I moved out of the family home and stayed with my sister, which, by the way, I could never begin to thank her enough for. During this time, I stumbled across van life on YouTube, and as luck would have it, I was offered a small van relatively cheaply. 2,000, oh my goodness, is that the pounds symbol? I'm very bad at that. I promptly moved into my van and was there for about 3 months, and I absolutely loved it. In September, I moved into a flat, but I fully intend to go back into the van once the winter is out of the way, and I've had a chance to sort of get a layout and get a heater, etc. fitted. My life now is drastically different to what I imagined it would be, but I've realized that there are opportunities that are there for me where perhaps they weren't before. I still have my bad days, but I know that in 6 months' time, I'll be full-time in the van, clearing debts and perhaps for the first time ever, putting myself first. I just want to say on a personal note, I love your channel and I love your videos. They are really a big reason why I'm still going. Thank you. Signed, David. Well, David, as I say to everybody, thank you very much for writing in. Well, I'm sorry that happened. People are always asking me, are you dating this girl? Do you think you'll ever get married and all this other stuff? No! Why would you? Do you know how much stress and agony go into stuff like that? I'm not going to get off on a tangent here about it. And I'm sorry that you had to deal with that. It's such a hard thing to do, especially this day and age. But, if you are married and you have a partner and you can make it work, props to you. Like, that's great if you can have a solid foundation. David, like me, obviously didn't have a very solid foundation. And I'm sorry that you're struggling with that, but just realize that you hit the nail on the head. You got to put yourself first. And when you get into a relationship, it is so easy to lose yourself. You no longer identify as your individual self. You start identifying as David and whoever, right? Or Matthew and whoever. It's no longer Matthew or David or whatever you are. You start identifying as that couple of people. And that to me is just so nonsensical. I know, I get it. It works for some people and props to them. I am not one of those people for sure. And I always lose myself in relationships. I've had my fair share of them over the years. And the loss of one was one of the reasons that I found myself doing what I'm doing. So I 100% sympathize with what you're going through, dude. I'm a very emotional person. If you haven't picked up on that, you probably haven't been around the channel that long. And I've gone through the ringer when it comes to affairs of the heart, let's say. It's all part of growing, for sure. And I think it is true, whatever doesn't kill you does make you stronger. I hope, more importantly, whatever doesn't kill you makes you smarter. Because I definitely spent a lot of years of my young adult life not learning from my mistakes and continuing to make them. And now here I am, and I feel for the first time in my life I finally made the best choice I could ever make, and that absolutely was putting myself first. So yeah, I'm glad you're on the right track. I'm glad you're taking the winter in a flat and staying warm, because yeah, with an uninsulated van, I'm assuming you're in the UK. Did you say? I'm so sorry. I just saw the pound symbol on the cost of your van. Yeah, you're doing it right. Take this winter, come springtime, hit the ground running, get that sucker built out. You're going to be fine, David. So much more life to live, dude. Okay. Sorry, I just taken me a minute to scroll through here because I had to go through. I haven't deleted all of the responses that I got for Amber's dog River when I put that video out. If you don't know as well, I'll mention it here. River did end up getting rehomed thanks to this community. Someone did reach out to me after watching that video, and him and Amber were able to get in contact with each other. And River, it's essentially a fostering situation where Amber helps financially support River while she's there with him. She can see her. River's a girl, by the way, for everybody calling River a boy. Whatever, how would you know? Amber never puts out any video. Amber can see River whenever she wants to, and however it goes out going forward in time, whether she finds a permanent home for her, she will be in this intermittent area with Kevin, I believe the gentleman's name was. So I know Amber has thanked you, Kevin, but I will say it as well. Thank you so much for coming to River's rescue in that sense. Amber's rescue, really, let's get serious. Anyways, I was scrolling through all of the responses here. Oh boy, we got a long one here. Everybody buckle in. Terry writes in, says, "Hi Matthew, I've been subscribed to your channel for a while now. My YouTube name is Incy R. Incy is actually my in real life nickname, short for in crisis. I'm probably saying that way wrong, and I am so sorry. And I must admit that although I have commented a few times during your lives, I am not really a commenter on the vlogs. I should change that. Yes, you should. I'm just kidding. You do you. As long as you're enjoying my videos, that's all that matters at the end of the day. Background on me. Feel free to paraphrase if needed, as I will probably ramble. Let's see what happens. I grew up in a small village in the southwest of England. My parents divorced when I was 11, and my mother took myself and two brothers to live with her and her new partner, who had 2 boys and 1 girl. We got a big family now. My new home was only 2 houses away from my previous home, where my father remained and remarried. Wait, what? And ended up having a further 3 children with his new wife. There's only 2 houses between you? This is already starting to sound like some sort of movie. We lived in a modestly sized 3-bedroom house, and although it was a fairly decent sized home, with one of the bedrooms spanning half of the upper floor, comfortably fitting all of us 5 boys in, you can imagine that the house was crowded. My mother didn't work, and my stepfather was in and out of jobs for a few years during my teenage years. My stepfather was very controlling, to the point of being physically abusive. And as he was very demanding in how he expected everyone around him to behave, it was his way or the highway. I won't go into much more detail around that, but things like giving my mother a limited weekly budget for food shopping, her having to buy what he wanted / expected to eat first, and then spending whatever was left on food to feed 6 children. Numerous food items were too good / or too expensive for kids, and those items were his and his alone. Of course, his cigarettes took priority over anything. Even if the choice was between topping up the milk or bread, during the week, cigarettes came first. This guy's the gem. I really see what your mom saw in him. We also weren't allowed to use the front room. That was only for him and my mother, so when at home, all 5 boys had to stay in our bedroom. I was a bit of a rebellious child and spent most of my teenage life out of the house. We lived in a small village surrounded by fields and wooded areas. After school, I would eat and then stay out until after my mother and stepfather had gone to bed, and usually having to break into the house to get back in. They locked the house up when they went to bed, and if I went home before that, they would ask me why I was home so early. In the summer months, I would often stay overnight in one of the numerous dens my friends and I had built in and around the village we grew up in, making my way back home in the morning to get ready to go to school. When I was 13, they bought a caravan, trailer, or travel trailer, I believe it is known as in the US and Canada. What are you a caravan for? It's got no wheels. Sorry. They used it once, parked it on the lawn in front of the house, and it remained there for a year. When I was 14, I told my mother and stepfather that I was going to sleep in the caravan. All us boys were getting older, tensions and fighting was getting worse, and I wanted to get out of it. I ran an extension cord from the house, so I had some electricity. I was gifted a small TV from a neighbor, and I became very independent. I would use the house to shower, wash my own clothes, and cook food for myself. I also got a paper round and worked odd jobs on weekends so that I had my own money. Not a lot of money, but it was mine. As you can imagine, being a teenager with his own pad meant I was the go-to person / place when the weather was crap, and we used to have quite. In those days, you could leave school when you had finished your exams at the end of year 11, which was when I was 16. I did try college to further my education, but that didn't work out. Another story. So I got a job working in a bar restaurant around 15 miles away. I had a motorbike, so transport was an issue. After 3 years of living in the caravan, when I was 17, I moved into a room above the bar. During my adult life, I have always enjoyed camping and have often thought about converting a van so that I can travel around without the expense of hotels and be a little more comfortable than sleeping in a tent. However, my adult life has had numerous ups and downs, personal life being the downs and career being the ups. I always knew I was gay, but back then, and because of home life, etc., I hid it and convinced myself it was just a phase. When I was 21, I met a girl and we ended up getting married and having a child. But when I reached the age of 28, I couldn't lie to myself anymore and took the extremely difficult decision to tell my wife that I was indeed gay. Obviously, we separated and she ended up remarrying. I met a guy, but 6 years later, I found out he had been cheating on me. Good Lord. So I kicked him out. I have had 3 more relationships since, each one ending in various catastrophic ways. I am once again in a relationship, and so far so good. But I guess my past has left me a little jaded. So although I hope this is the forever one, only time will tell. I am once again thinking of getting a van and converting it. I don't want to buy one ready to go, not just because of cost, but also because I know I would enjoy the process of doing it myself. Yes. I am not sure if I would go full-time van life, as sticks and bricks and other commitments would make it difficult, as well as living in the UK, where although van life is a thing, the UK isn't very accommodating and doesn't have the amenities I see other countries have. I'll be 50 in a few years, so maybe when I get to my midlife crisis, I'll bite the bullet and go for it, but as a weekend warrior. I have waffled for long enough, but it was nice to put some of this in writing, NC. Yeah, wow, I stand by what I said at the top. This could be a movie with the right editing and direction. This is just like a British, I don't know, coming of age story. My God. Like, how is it not already? But this is the thing that makes this so cool about sharing these stories is like a lot of us have lives like that. We might not even realize it because we've lived them and we haven't actually put pen to paper, or I guess fingertips to screen, to write out our stories and really get into the nitty gritty and take a look back and see what it was like when we grew up. And I get it. Not everybody has a story like this. Yikes. But we do. And I love hearing about them. And it's real. It's raw. It's a life lived. It's a life that's still being lived. And that's, it's really cool that you wanted to share that with me. And I appreciate that. Thank you very much, Nancy. You get there. Even you're just just a weekend warrior. Absolutely, do it. I think you've got that nomadic spirit for sure. When you were younger there and you were living in a caravan in the backyard or whatever, reminded me of a friend I used to have down the street from my parents' house growing up. Hung out with him quite a few times, and his dad parked their old camper off the truck, obviously, just in their backyard in the off season. And when we would have sleepovers, we a couple times stayed in the camper back there. That's the only thing I can really, nothing like yours. You were flat out living in yours. but it was cool to be able to like be in there. You feel this sense of independence. I think I was younger than you were at that time. But yeah, we've all got these little moments that sort of speak to us, speak to our nomadic side of our souls. Yeah, you know what? I think I'm going to leave this entry here, you guys. There was a lot of jibba jabba from me and some great stories from you guys. As always, I appreciate everybody who wrote in and shared their stories and their experiences. This one definitely had a little bit of an unplanned through line when it came to relationships. But hey, relationships are just a bigger part of life as anything else. So if you would like to share your stories, whether you are a nomad living in your van or your trailer or a camper or a car, or even if you're just thinking about getting into the life, or hey, if you just watch the channel because I might make you laugh at something stupid I do, don't hesitate. Write into vanlifepluscontact@gmail.com. Keep the stories coming in. I would be more than happy to continue doing this for you guys. But I'm gonna leave this one here, and until the next one, everybody just go out there, be happy, be creative, be yourselves. Most importantly, be positive, and I'll see you all in the next one.